Hey everybody, welcome tonight. I'm here with Kurt from Beyond the White Noise, and you're watching Underground Science. And what we're going to be going over this evening is just a really fun show, nothing heavy, and we're going over urban legends. I mean, these are things that we've heard for years, whether it's, don't get out of bed because the boogeyman might get you. Don't go into the woods because there's something living out there. I mean, urban legends come in all sorts of forms. So we've got some different ones we want to look into. You may or may not have heard of them. If you happen to be watching the show live, you've got the opportunity to go in the chat, ask questions, maybe tell us about something you've heard of. So, Kurt, let's start this with you.
All right. Well, let me be honest with you. If you've seen the other show that I am on, I'm a bit of a skeptic. But when it comes to urban legends, what I find interesting, though, is the fact that there's always a basis of truth to all urban legends. Maybe not like the urban legends of the little kids pushing your car up over the hill. I find that a little far-fetched. And the reason I find that far-fetched because you seem to think you're on a flat surface, but in reality, you are probably at an angle. And more than likely, it's best that you bring out a level and check it out to see where you are and stuff like that. But I find urban legends to be actually very interesting, and I find them almost as fun to investigate as I would any other type of haunting or anything like that. Urban legends they're cool.
Well, a lot, if you look at it, a lot of your local hauntings, per se, are actually urban legends, such as the man who walks along the road at night. I mean, that's been a story in my area for as long as I can remember, which I've lived here since I was 12. So, 30 something years, but there's a lot of people who've said, it's this one area, right before you get to Minton. And a lot of people say, the hitchhiker, the man walking, there's a lot of hitchhiker stories and things like that. So I think a lot of these stories are the same thing in a lot of the areas, and they just explain something maybe somebody didn't understand, or maybe somebody thought they saw something, and then it grows from there.
Actually, to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, Lynette, and I apologize if I'm going to say this, and it's not bad. I'm not going to say anything bad. We kind of watch our language now since I've been chastised for using the F-bomb, the C word, the MF word, the C-sucker word.
Can we say bullshit?
Yeah, every other word I've said it on air, and I don't want this to turn out to be YouTube is really funny about that. But it kind of reminds me of hitchhiking. Was one of those 70s kind of deals.
Mm-hmm.
And the gas grass ass, no one rides for free kind of deal. Right. You used to see that sticker on everybody's van or truck or something like that. Or my mom's station wagon. Wow, that's weird to say. But aside from that, but sorry, Mom, if you're watching this, it was Lynette's fault. She dared me to do it. But no, but it's interesting because you think during that time period and a little bit prior to that, the hitchhiker, the ghostly hitchhiker, or the one that you always hear the story about. There's one up in Chicago where and it's Resurrection Mary, and you're driving down the road, you see her, she gets in your car, you drive around, you turn to your right, Resurrection Mary is no longer there. Now, I look at that as not a haunt. I look at that as just a straight urban legend. Now, is it true? I highly doubt it. But there's got to be some basis of truth to it, and I would love to be able to backtrack to where it actually stemmed from.
And that's, I think you're going to find that there's a lot of things that, I mean, just depending on where you're at. I think a lot of things repeat themselves, not on purpose, but something may happen in California and then it happened in Kentucky, and that's just where they come from. I think that the Jersey Devil is actually like an urban legend, to keep kids from going into certain areas. I mean, and that I know I saw a show 5 years ago, and the lady was trying to show us, the little goat tracks that were on her roof, and I'm just like, Yeah, I don't believe that. But, and not to, I think people have something happen and they have to make sense of it. So the closest thing she had to make sense of whatever it was, probably a raccoon on her roof. She lived in an area where the Jersey Devil's supposed to be. So that's, what she came up with.
I think basically the Jersey Devil is kind of like a load of crap, to be honest with you. I mean, it's like any cryptid and something like that. I mean, you think of Bigfoot, urban legend in a sense. I mean, it totally is. So I mean, God, it's weird. My computer's weird. It's like I'm going to the left. I'm becoming an urban legend. You can hear me talk, just hear his voice, and then I move to the right. You can see me, and it's even scarier.
We can see you on both sides.
Yeah, how am I able? Are you able to see me with light, or am I lit up, or am I not lit up?
The light's over to this side. I guess maybe heaven's trying to call you on this side, and hell's over here. And hell's over there going, he's ours, stay away.
No, that's another urban legend in my book. So heaven is definitely an urban legend. But yeah, it was created by man for man and all the above. And maybe I'll stick to this side. Oh wow, actually. Why do you got such a better computer than I do? Okay, let's go back to urban legends. You had actually, I think, some of the older urban legends. I mean, like today you got the urban legends. You think about, let's say, Slender Man. Total BS. Totally created on a computer for scare the kids. It was actually created by like a mini movie. There was a mini movie where Slender Man existed, and then it moved on to, let's say, college kids created it, and then it moved on from there to the point where we actually are talking about, there's a guy out there that stands 7 feet tall and he weighs 100 pounds, and he kidnaps kids from playgrounds. BS. Slender Man was created on the computer by, you know what I'm saying? It was created using technology. Black eyed kids, same BS. Like I said earlier, like I've said on other shows, and I'll stop and let Lynette jump in on this one. I apologize, Lynette. But I created a while back, I did this. Lynette knows the story about this. I created a story about the red-eyed kids. Believe it or not, yeah, I was like, I'm bored. I want to see if people believe this. So I got one of these apps that looked like a newspaper article, and I created the red-eyed kids. Sent it out. Like a lot of people are like, yeah, thanks, Kurt. Yeah, that's great. Bunch of stoners showing up at your door. But then all of a sudden, out of Australia, I get it sent to me by some lady who's really not even my friend that just posted it on a thing. I'm like, that actually made it around there. I created the red-eyed kids, and that's how things are done. I mean, you think about it, that's how a lot of these things are done. It's so easy for us, you and I can right now create our own urban legend, play this back, set up, and do our intro, outro, and send it around. And we can make up some monster, and all of a sudden, it's believed to be true.
Well, that is true. Now, I heard Slender Man that 2 girls actually used the Slender Man legend to kill another kid, and that's
heard that, yeah,
that's true on there. Now, what I did, I mean, because we've all got all kinds of urban legends, some true, some not true, and I started looking through some that I was like, oh, seriously? And one of them we were talking about before is
that's actually a creepy one. I gotta admit, for an urban legend, and I'm not gonna say whether it was true or not, because this was a good one. Because I happened to have read about this earlier in the day. She brought it up to me prior to the show, and I'm like, no way. So let's hear it, Lynette. Let's hear it.
Okay, that at some point during a Halloween that there was a body hanging from a tree. Everybody thought it was a Halloween decorations, and turned out it was a real body.
Well, they tell the story a little bit.
That's I mean, on that one, that is all the story I got. Supposedly this happened within 8 years ago. it didn't give any information on why the person did that. So I've kind of got it as a footnote.
Yeah, I believe that one was out of Pennsylvania, by the way.
Yeah, I've got PA next to that.
Yeah, that one's out. That's not my neck of the woods. That's north of me. I avoid that place. That place is one giant urban legend anyway. So, I mean, we'll just basically look at that. So,
well, we know back in the olden days when they'd bury people on some graves, they would have the little bell. And that was for in case somebody was not actually dead, they could ring the bell. And does anybody know? Do you know of any stories where somebody's dug themselves out alive after being buried?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to be dead honest, or do you want me to call bullshit on this one? Even though it is true, even though that bell was true, that bell actually was created. That's a true bell. That's for historical purposes. That was true. But let me be dead honest with you. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to give me the answer on that
one. Well, let's see. This one happened across the pond. It would be in Mo's neck of the woods.
Where across the pond?
Just we're in Mo's area.
We're
in England.
Oh, God.
This is one from England.
Oh, God, that person should have stayed in the ground. Okay.
This guy tried to kill his girlfriend of 6 years. He tasered her, taped her up, put her in a TV box, and buried her. He then, because he thought he got away with perfect crime, he took 500 pounds off her ATM and went shopping, or whatever he did. Apparently, she had a nice engagement ring, because she'd have had to have a nice stone to do this. She used the engagement ring to scratch her way and rip through the tape that he taped her up with to help get her out of the box and dig herself out of the grave.
Okay. I question that one. I don't say it's real or not, but I question that, and I want to know where exactly did you get that information from?
It says England, and I've got the website. I'll show you.
Okay. Okay, you got the website. They should have just left her in there. I'm sorry. She was English. Jesus.
They didn't help her get out. She got out by herself.
Well,
hopefully she got out and beat his ass.
She was probably freaking out like crazy anyway. I'd be freaking out thinking about that. Unbelievable. So she actually fought her way out with the that guy couldn't have dug that deep. Honestly, that guy could not have dug that deep for her to have done that. Because I mean, your average, in today's society, we always have this big belief that you're buried 6 feet under, and it's not the case. It's not a law. Because you go to these old cemeteries and with the indentations, and you're stepping on somebody's casket because they're only about this far underneath your feet. I mean, even I've been to cemeteries where I've been to a cemetery where I lifted up a piece of wood, and there was the cement. There was the cement where the casket was getting ready to go down in. No casket in there, obviously, at that time. But curiosity would have got me arrested.
Well, these days they use grave liners. That is the law.
No. It all depends. It's your choice in Maryland.
No, okay. Well, in Missouri, it's the law because I sold prearranged funerals, so I do know about this.
You're grim. You were grim. You were just grim.
By golly, I made good money. My second husband, I made a $600 commission on his funeral. I told him I'd stick his ass in a burn barrel and be done with it. So he picked out, like the nice oak coffin and all kinds of shit like that.
Oh, don't even think. Oh no! I'm not even going to say what I'm thinking right now. But there's not a snowball's chance in hell that's going to happen. You'll find yourself in 6 pieces. That's all I got to say.
But the reason they use the grave liners is in areas where there's flooding, or we've got the Mississippi River. Some years we get a lot of rain.
Yeah, that's understandable. You have that on Eastern Shore of Maryland, same thing. Except it's not the grave liners; it's the actual grave tombs from the 1800s. Because you're at where the Chesapeake Bay is. You're almost underneath water level.
Right. And the town, it's East Prairie. It's we were flooding at that time, and their cemetery, you could see just the old caskets and stuff popping up out of
Yeah,
the
I've seen
ground.
that on the Chesapeake Bay kayaking out there. All right, keep going. Keep going with what you have.
Let's see. Here is another one. Have you ever heard any stories? We've all actually heard these of somebody remodeling their house and finding a body.
Oh, I did come across one today. It wasn't quite the same. There was a doctor. She was in love with this guy, and this guy kind of blew her off, and she didn't take no quite so well. So she decided to climb down the chimney. And about, I'd say, a year later, after they started to smell something, they found her body in the chimney. Now, I mean, I've heard of stories in England, actually, of them finding bodies in walls in some of these really old houses. But you got to think they got to have thick walls to do that, because most of these houses we're talking about, most of these castles and places like that, you're talking about brick or mortar. You're not talking about insulation. So there's
Right.
not this much space for insulation. That's probably one of these houses that is a little less aged, as I'd like to say.
Well, I read a story. This man had been missing for 27 years, and they were going to redo a house. And once they started messing with the fireplace and one of the rooms on the second story, they found him in there. He had robbed houses, so apparently, what they figure is he thought he was going to go down the chimney and rob the family. Got stuck, and that was it.
You didn't tell everybody that it was your brother that did it, actually, did
No, that's you ain't supposed to tell people I got a brother. Seriously?
Yeah, but you know, she looks good with lipstick. What can I say?
Oh.
I knew someone, actually, believe it or not, I knew someone that did the same thing that you did.
Got stuck in a
And,
chimney like you did?
no, this person got a degree in thanatology, which is like death and dying. It's a master's in thanatology.
Mhm.
And they got to do, and this was quite not on the legal end of life. They got to be part of an autopsy.
Mhm.
And they said they saw the person. And this is not urban. This is kind of urban legend, I guess. This person, she said, the guy was staring at me from a corner, but while I was overlooking his body. And so I don't know. I was like, yeah, you sure? You know, it was one of those deals. I'm like, I don't know. But anyway, back to urban legends, and enough about that. But go ahead.
All right. The toxic lady.
Oh, I can tell you about her.
How can you know?
Oh yeah. Oh, I can tell you about the toxic lady.
Okay.
About the lady who
Your neighbor.
Huh?
Your neighbor.
Yeah, I was down in Tyson visiting this girl, and the person, and this person. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I was in her house.
Oh, when you
Girl
tell me
smelled like
about your
ass, and
ex-girlfriend.
this girl smelled like ass and death. And you know, I'm sitting there freaking out. You know, I'm smelling this, and I get sick. Like the doctors were coming in, having to wear bodysuits, and I'm getting sick of this because this smells like ass and death. And like I didn't know what to do. I passed out. I woke up in the hospital about a month later, and that became kind of like an urban legend from that area.
I hear your phone going off.
That would be. Never mind.
Is somebody telling you to watch out? Actually, the toxic lady. In 1994, there was a lady who was a cancer patient who went into a hospital. She was going to get her blood tested. And as they were drawing the blood, a rancid smell started coming from her blood and from her. And supposedly all the doctors and nurses became ill and some died.
I did hear about that. I don't know, but what was the reason? I mean, if we're going to talk about that, what exactly was the reason for that?
They still don't know. It's the blood sample that was taken from the patient had toxic fumes that caused all the staff that was in a certain distance, 23 hospital staff, they became lightheaded, passed out, lost control. Some of them lost control of their limbs. And they still do not know to this day what it was that caused that.
I think you and I have gone on the same website. I'll be honest with you. You and I have gone on the same website.
I looked at a lot of websites.
But those websites, like going back to urban legends, I mean, they go way back. I mean, look at the Headless Horseman.
Yep.
Think about that Ichabod Crane. I mean, even though it came from a book and all that, I mean, that's an urban legend. I mean, still, you go to these certain areas. Let me say Zombie Road up in St. Louis, and they got their urban legends about what did you say?
The urban legend all the way.
Yeah, it was urban legend all the way. It was but I'm just saying, each area you go to, you have your own urban legends. But when you talk to, let's say I talk to somebody in Colorado, they're going to have their own version of the same urban legend that I had. It's all passed down. It's like oral history, I mean, and basically that's the way it is. It's folklore being passed down one by one. But there's always, again, a basis for a lot of this stuff we're talking about. You know what I'm talking about? There's a lot of basis of truth for some of this. And if you go to some of these sites, they will have true urban legends that turned out to be true. I've been on a couple that said fake, true, and then there was one that was like in between, not sure, fake, true, but it was really cool. Go on, I think it's scopes.com or snopes.com, one of the two, but it's really cool.
You got one for us?
Who, me?
Mm-hmm.
I like the one in our area, actually, about the Confederate soldiers. We have an area where it's called Dead Man's Curve. And a lot of people have died there. A lot of teenagers, drinking and driving, stuff like that. And it's called Dead Man's Curve. And supposedly, you honk your horn twice, and everybody's got the same story. There's no differentiation from the story. It doesn't have to be Confederate. It could be Union. It doesn't matter.
Or it could just be a cemetery where a baby's supposed to float around.
Or I don't even buy into that. But like where you honk your horn twice on the bridge, all of a sudden your car starts moving and stuff like that. But again, if you think about it at the same time, we're going to go back here. That area is not flat. It's arched one way or another. You might think it's flat. It might feel flat. But yeah, that happens a lot. I mean, or the handprints on the car, like a bus. There was a bus that there was kids got killed a long time ago, a school bus. And supposedly in this one bus, you sit in it and pushes it, and it's got a bunch of kids' hands that are on back of it. And I really wish I knew more of that story, though.
Well, I know the one you're talking about. They did some research, and it was not even in the same state they were in. But that had actually happened. A bus had been hit by a train. It was not in that area, and but the road was unlevel. I mean, even with what they thought was a bump going over the railroad tracks, it was still on a downward grade. Now, I've got one for you that I thought was kind of interesting. Have you ever heard of the 666 headstone?
Well, let me tell you, before I go into 666, the original number, actually, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, or whoever's listening, check this one out. I could be totally wrong, but it's 6616. What is the actual number of the beast? 666 was brought about much later than that. So, I mean, try that. 6616 is, I think it's that. It's the original number of the beast, according to people. But no, I have not heard of the 666 thing. No. Tell me about it.
Okay. It is a Lily E. Gray, Salt Lake City, Utah. Her headstone dates from June 6, 1881 to November 14th, 1958. She was 77 years old. And they have her listed on the headstone. It actually says victim of the beast, 666. Any idea who you think the beast might be, or if it's true?
It's bullshit. If the beast is anybody, I'm looking right at her.
Keep that. You did not get your gun. You've just lost your gun.
Hey, it's all right. It's all right. It was worth it. Keep going. I'm listening. Go ahead.
It was actually commissioned by the woman's husband. He was a paranoid, anti-governmental and he blamed the police for her death, and he was basically calling them the devil.
Oh, I'm looking at her right there then. Yep. Kidding with you. Just kidding with you. Okay.
And that's the show for this evening. I have to head up to Maryland and kick somebody's ass.
It's all right. It's all right. Don't worry. It ain't going to happen.
It'll happen every day when I'm up there for good.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's go. What else you got going? What else you got going on?
I
know you got more. I mean, especially your area. I do give you credit, though. When I was out visiting Lynette, I live in kind of an urban area where there's a lot of buildings and cars and this and that. I went out to visit her, and I did get to go out and investigate a few urban legends. And these are urban legends that are local to her area in Sikeston, Missouri, or the Boot Heel, Missouri. Not necessarily was in Sikeston, but what we didn't see, but I wanted to see two things. I thought were great urban legends. Where one was the Blue Baby, or the Blue Lady. One of the two. Blue Baby.
Blue Baby.
Which one?
Blue Baby.
Blue Baby. All right. Tell everybody what the Blue Baby was.
It's supposed to be a lady that's looking for her baby. She's lost it. And actually, it's supposed to be one of them cemeteries you can pull up and honk at. It was also the site of a crash.
Well, explain though what was interesting about that cemetery, which really a lot of people probably never even knew, but we kind of came across it when I ended up with poison ivy for like a week and a half. But what happened was we got to the cemetery, and it was a Bradshaw family plot at first, and we didn't think much of it. And she was showing me. But that was showing me with a blue baby, the lady that's seen holding the baby in the middle of the night, up and down. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, hold on a second. This isn't the whole cemetery. And all of a sudden, overgrown, it was an abandoned cemetery behind it. So, I mean, it just added to the whole creepiness, the whole creep factor of it, though, when you come across an abandoned cemetery. And the other one that we were out checking out, and believe me, when she takes me out there in the middle of nowhere, I ain't gonna lie to anybody listening to you here. This place is out in the middle of nowhere. It's like nothing for her, but for me, I'm not even close to being in my element. So, it was the Fahrenberg Lights. And explain what the Fahrenberg Lights were. That's two things, two cool urban legends that you have going on there that I would love. And Fahrenberg Lights can be found on YouTube, but I don't know how true it is. But look up the Fahrenberg Lights on YouTube and see it. And these guys catch it. As a student, I'm watching the video over and over and over. I'm going, this can't be right. This can't be it. But at the same time, I can't debunk the whole thing. Go ahead. Can you explain exactly what that is?
The Fahrenberg Lights, there's a lot of old towns that have this. You've got the old railroad tracks that are basically debunked now. They may have been for grain and went to a bunch of little small towns, but it's supposedly the guy got ran over, the one who's supposed to stand out there with the light, and because it's a little town of Fahrenberg, he was run over by the train, lost his head, and he's supposed to be walking up and down tracks looking for his head. You go down the road a little bit, turn around and park, turn your lights off, and you can see the light going from right to left. Now, off to the right, if you're facing it properly, the highway is there. You can see the highway, and you can see the lights from the highway. But where the lights go, those aren't highway lights. And you do see it every once in a while. I have no doubt it is something else, down there. The tracks are no longer there. So, and there's gravel roads. So the stories about swamp gas just don't add up. Also, one other place that's kind of like an urban legend in our area I took Kurt to was Boogie Woods. I've been there previously. It is supposed to be our supposed hotbed of activity with Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts. There's supposed to be an old witch's house. I kept trying to interview people at one particular house, and I talked to everybody, and they actually told me that yes, their house was haunted. There'd been a little boy in the attic, this, that, and whatever. And it wasn't even the right house I was at. I was just trying to find the other house, and then they happened to tell me that their house was haunted. We couldn't even find the oldest of cemeteries that are hidden back there. It was full of brambles. It was pretty bad. We stopped by a church that has a cemetery not associated with it, and and saw the preacher. Stop, talk to him. I lived in an area where, we're talking to the preacher, and here comes his wife, and she used to babysit my youngest son. So this is kind of an area where I cannot go anywhere without somebody knowing me or my children. So, and he told us the cemetery was not haunted. I mean, he told us about different stories and some different things going on out there. Maybe some social meetings that shouldn't be going on. That were pretty interesting. But he just, he gave us our take on it. He'd been preacher there for a while, and he knew some of the history. So I thought that was really cool. I do want to go back because I do want to find the oldest cemeteries and take Kurt with me and leave him in the woods.
Which one? The abandoned one that I found that you said wasn't abandoned?
No, it's bigger than that. There's another one.
So that was another abandoned one that I found right there.
Okay, yeah, that one does not have the graves that they were talking about.
No, they don't. But that was an abandoned cemetery.
Yeah, that was, but there's another one.
Okay. No, but I'm just saying. I mean, talking about. I mean, none of it's really urban legend or anything like that. But I mean, I think your area.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I'm saying this, and I'm not going to be mean about this. Your area will have more urban legends, I think, than mine, due to the fact that your area, people don't leave your area. You know what I'm saying? Your area is, people pretty much, once you're there, you're there. And I'm not meaning it in a bad way, but that's how things get passed down. My area is different. Every 4 to 8 years, depending on who's president, who's governor, who's this, people move in, people move out. I live in an area in D.C. that's very transient. That's very transient. That we got a lot of transient people that come in and come out. No, I'm not talking about hobos and hobo villages and stuff. I'm just talking, even though we do have a couple of those. But I mean, that we don't have what Lynette has when it comes to urban legends that have probably been passed down from, let's say, the 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s. Well, I think what's creepy, but it's not an urban legend, was when you and I were talking to that preacher, and he told us the story of the dead body, the lady's body that was found murdered in the cemetery, which is not the graveyard to the actual Baptist church. Because what you don't know is cemetery and graveyards, two different things. Graveyards are by a church. Cemeteries, totally separate entity. I mean, so that's basically how that works right there. And well, if you don't believe me, look it up.
That the one lady had been killed by a serial killer.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy about it.
So, and I think in areas like ours where maybe we don't have the history that an area like yours has.
But it doesn't need to have a history. I still think more people in your area, down to urban legends, when you're in more of a rural area, they talk to each other more.
They make their own history. That's what urban legends are.
But that's cool, though. That's something that we used to have here, but we don't have it anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. Unless you look it up when somebody did book, or I'm doing one right now on the last man hanged in Montgomery County. I'm in the middle of doing that, and I'm going to turn that into let's say a 5-10 minute video. But I'm doing the research of the last man hanged who dynamited a house near my house. And he was hanged. Last man hanged in the county. I got the rope. I got videos of me talking about it with the rope that we have at the Historical Society. I mean, it's not an urban legend because there's no ghosty kind of things about that. But that road where he's buried, supposedly, you get your car pushed up and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's not questionable. Urban legends are always questionable. I mean, you can always end up in a debate with someone, and they basically won't buy into it, or they might buy into it. Or some people have some killer urban legends. I mean, there's like some real live urban legends out there. And I think the ones that are true are the creepiest.
Or the what?
Are the creepiest.
Okay. Have you ever like seen a carpet rolled up in the road? And I mean, I have a deranged sense of humor. If I'd seen.
Oh no, you just put that in your living room. Okay, keep going.
But you see like an old carpet rolled up in the road, dumped somewhere, and you're like, I bet that had a body in it. That would be my way of thinking. How many times do you think that's ever actually happened?
It's happened because it happened to these college kids in forget where, but yeah, they found it. They actually found them. They found the thing rolled up, and they unrolled it in their dorm room or somewhere like that, and there was a body inside of it. Yeah, I've heard that one.
It's been shot several times.
That I didn't know. That part I didn't hear.
How many elevator decapitations do you think there are a year?
Well, I'd say there's the big one. The famous one is in China or Japan, where somebody was being lifted up and got caught in that. Now per year, I don't know.
There's actually not very many. Actually, 2003, Dr. Hisosi, can't pronounce the name. He ran into Houston, and it didn't happen overseas. It happened in Houston. He was running to the elevator. The doors closed on him. They didn't stop. And it drug his carcass up through there and popped his head off.
It happens, though. I mean, if you're not careful, when you go into elevators, you don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, this one Chinese guy I saw that was lifted up. I saw the video of it because they had the camera inside the elevator where the guy. And this is what's cool about the true urban legends, because if you go on YouTube, go to 30 true urban legends, and it'll take you down to 30 different urban legends that are absolutely true. They've been fact checked and everything else. Well worth it, and they'll make you think, going, what the hell did I just see? Great when you're at the gym, when you're sitting there working out and you're reading it, you're going like, oh man, this is even better. So I mean, it's well worth it. Your urban legends, I think, are kind of like going to a haunted house. Like, let's say Lynette says my house is haunted. How do I know? I go investigate. Could be an urban legend that 3 people died in the backyard of her house or died in a fire. I'd have to fact check like crazy. I'd have to fact check like nobody's business. But if it's true, it's one of those cool, true urban legends. No, it's not cool that somebody died there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to go that route. I'm really not. But it's cool, though, when you find out an urban legend is true. And then there's a lot of urban legends that are just straight bullshit. I'll be honest about it. Just straight BS. And those are the ones I love when people swear they're true, even though they're not. Because think of how many people you get on Facebook. Facebook is like social media for crayon chewers. Okay? I'm just going to be dead honest about that. You get on Facebook, you could put anything on. For example, today, we were laughing because somebody put on that some guy died. That's the new thing now. Everybody's posted somebody died. It's this new thing on Facebook. Well, this person died 5 years ago, so we're like, oh, time to mess with this person. So everybody's typing going, dude, this guy died 10 years ago. So somebody put a picture of Abraham Lincoln, and it said just died January 19th. That underneath that said, yeah, he was walking across the street with his cell phone on, wasn't paying attention to the road. I mean, you think about it. That's a lot of people out there that will believe in urban legends. I mean, you got to fact check all your urban legends because there's so many websites out there and books. And ladies and gentlemen, read some books because books sometimes are much better than Facebook. Facebook is kind of like slumming. I mean, that's just the way I look at it. It's just my own personal take. It's slumming. So that's all I got to say about that. And again, if you read something on there about an urban legend on Facebook, oh my God,
please check Snopes.
Please check it. I go to Snopes or Scopes. It's Scopes.com or Scopes.net. It fact checks for you. It'll say fake, not fake, really happened, and it'll give you facts, how it happened. I mean, and it makes urban legends truly, truly interesting. I don't know.
Tonight we're having a short night. We didn't have a lot. I mean, we wanted to go over the urban legends, have a little bit of fun. But for those of y'all who know of urban legends in your area, do us a favor, check into them, see if you can check the history on them. Send us a story on it. We might post together some stuff like that. I like the urban legends from different areas, but then I also like to compare them to see like how many areas do have the same urban legend. So that would be something neat if any of y'all can follow through on that. Kurt, you got anything to add?
Nah, send them to Lynette. I mean, seriously, she gets into them, urban legends and stuff like that. But definitely check us out. Beyond the White Noise Paranormal next Sunday. Gonna have a killer show. So you'll see Mo and myself on there. But we were not gonna do urban legends. That was Lynette's idea, and I gotta give her a lot of props on it actually, because it's like a very cool idea considering Lynette's show. The cool thing about this show, Underground Science, she's got the ability to pretty much pick out what topic she wants to do, where we pretty much focus on the paranormal, whether it's Kit, whether it's people on television that we've had on, whether it's this. But do us a favor, go to Beyond the What BTWN Paranormal and subscribe. We're always looking for subscribers. We got about over, I can't remember, hundreds of videos. Plus we have about 100 shows. So it's Jesus, unbelievable.
Ignore it. It's my phone. It's not my cat.
It's her cat. She shot her cat in the ass the other day. Don't let her tell you any different.
Next Tuesday, we have a guest from it's been on Oak Island, so we will have a very good show next Tuesday. Looking forward to that.
And on that note, I'm off. I'll talk to you guys later.
Good night. Go to sleep, Kurt.
Yeah.
Get your crayon.
Yeah, whatever.